Most people think escaping North Korea is impossible. The journey is seen as a desperate act, nearly always ending in tragedy. The border is heavily guarded, landmines are scattered across the terrain, and armed dogs hunt anyone who dares try to cross. But there are those who have defied these odds, who have found a way to escape the grip of oppression. This is one such story of Ji-hyun and her younger brother Min-soo, who risked everything in search of a better life. Their story begins in Hyesan, a cold, desolate town near the Yalu River, in the far northwest of North Korea. Ji-hyun, only 22, and her 16-year-old brother Min-soo grew up in a world of hardship. They lived in constant fear, not just of the regime, but of hunger and loss. Their father had been imprisoned for daring to criticize the government, and their mother was gone, leaving Ji-hyun to shoulder the weight of responsibility for Min-soo's well-being. The siblings' life in Hyesan was marked by endless struggle. They had little to eat. Their home was barely more than a shack, and the fear of arrest loomed over them every day. But it wasn't just the material poverty that was crushing. It was the constant reminder that they were trapped in a country that offered them no hope for a future, no chance for freedom, and no way out. But across the Yalu River, in neighboring China, there were whispers of freedom. There were rumors, dangerous rumors, that some North Koreans had made it out, crossing the river in the dead of night, slipping past border guards and soldiers. Of course, many were caught and disappeared. Some never made it across at all. But there were others, a few lucky ones, who had managed to escape the country's iron grip. Ji-hyun and Min-soo listened to these stories, fueled by a growing sense of desperation. The thought of staying in North Korea, living under constant surveillance, and knowing they had no future was unbearable. The stories of escape offered a fragile thread of hope, and Ji-hyun couldn't let it go. But she knew their journey would be risky, perhaps even deadly, and she began to plan carefully, weighing every decision. In Hyesan, timing would be everything. But just as important was finding the right person to help them. Ji-hyun worked at a local textile factory, where she overheard rumors about corrupt border guards. Some could be bribed if you had enough money. It was a dangerous proposition, but if they could gather enough, maybe they could bribe a guard to look the other way. For months, Ji-hyun scraped together whatever she could. She sold old jewelry, scraps of fabric, and even their meager food rations. She was taking a huge risk with every transaction. If anyone caught wind of what she was doing, it could mean imprisonment, even death. But she pushed on, fueled by the hope of a life beyond the walls of North Korea. Every coin, every small deal, brought them closer to their goal. Finally, after months of gathering money, Ji-hyun had enough to make a deal. She hid the money in the soles of her shoes, hoping no one would find it. Then, she contacted a trusted middleman, someone who knew a border guard, someone they could trust. The deal was set. On a specific night, a guard would turn a blind eye to their escape. It was a slim chance, but it was their only chance. The night they planned to cross, the air was bitterly cold. Ji-hyun and Min-soo crouched in the shadows near the riverbank, waiting for the right moment. Their breath misted in the night air, and the world around them seemed silent, as if holding its breath. The Yalu River, normally calm, was partially frozen. In some places, the ice was thin. In others, it was solid, but beneath it all, the water flowed fast and dangerous. Crossing the river was perilous, but there was no turning back. Every movement felt like a risk. The ice creaked under their feet, and every crack of the ice sent a jolt of panic through their hearts. Ji-hyun led the way, gripping Min-soo's hand tightly. The silence of the night felt oppressive. The only sounds were the pounding of their hearts and the occasional creaking of ice. Then, disaster struck. Halfway across the river, Min-soo's foot broke through the ice. He plunged into the freezing water below. Panic gripped Ji-hyun's chest as she saw her brother flailing in the current. Without thinking, she dropped to her knees and grabbed his arm, pulling him back up with all her strength. His body was shaking, his face pale with fear, but Ji-hyun refused to let go. She dragged him back onto the ice, every second feeling like an eternity. Shivering violently, drenched in icy water, they didn't have time to stop. The guard's blind eye would only last so long. They had to keep moving. With a final push of adrenaline, they managed to reach the far side of the river, collapsing into the snow. But even as they caught their breath, the threat of being caught still loomed. They were on foreign soil now, but they were still fugitives, and the danger wasn't over. They ran for what felt like hours, not stopping until they were far from the river, deep in the forest on the Chinese side. They were exhausted, soaked through to the bone, but they couldn't rest. In China, North Korean defectors were not safe. If they were caught, Chinese authorities often sent them back to North Korea. Ji Hyun and Min Soo knew they had to be careful. They had to stay hidden. For weeks, they lived in the shadows, moving from one safe house to another, relying on underground networks of activists and church groups willing to risk everything to help people like them. They traveled under the cover of darkness, hiding in barns, crawl spaces, or any place that could offer temporary shelter. They learned to stay quiet, to trust no one, to always be on the move. But their ultimate goal was Beijing, the South Korean embassy, where they could seek asylum. Every step was dangerous, and the closer they got to the city, the higher the risk. Beijing was crawling with surveillance. One wrong move, one wrong look, and they could be caught and sent back. But they pressed on, relying on the kindness of strangers and the strength of their own determination. After weeks of evading authorities and traveling by night, Ji Hyun and Min Soo finally reached the gates of the South Korean embassy in Beijing. They could hardly believe it. Tears of relief streamed down Ji Hyun's face as she passed through the gates. They had made it. They were safe. Today, Ji Hyun and Min Soo live in Seoul, far from the life they once knew. Min Soo, now a student, is passionate about human rights, wanting to raise awareness about the plight of North Korean defectors. Ji Hyun has become a guide for other escapees, helping them adjust to their new lives in South Korea. Their journey wasn't just about survival. It was about reclaiming their humanity, their dignity, and their freedom. The story of Ji Hyun and Min Soo is a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit. Against overwhelming odds, they fought for their freedom and won. Their journey shows us that no matter how high the walls or how tight the grip of oppression, the drive for freedom cannot be silenced.